they are going to be of the top 25 teams that was rattled off today. Here's a hot take for you. Mm-hmm. Of the top 25 teams in the top 25, of all the teams that I see after going through this deep dive today, Utah might be the one that's in the most trouble because they are a couple of injuries away from being really bad shape. Their offensive line has nothing but backup freshmen. Their D-line is inexperienced. And I just look at what they have. They have a true freshman playing the slot. Okay, when I look at them, and they have Mikey Matthews, who's going to have to come in and play the slot receiver. Yeah, they got Cam Rising back. Yeah, they got Jackson and Bernard and Glover. Yeah, they got Chris Curry back for his senior year. But I look at this team, Joe, and I started asking the question, do y'all have the depth to compete?
I don't think that they do. And you bring up a really good point here, Blake, that out of any team that is – I compare them to Baylor from last year. You know, they had a really good season. They won their conference. Everything aligned perfectly. It was a really well-rounded veteran roster last year. Losing teams in their conference helped them set up for that victory. A little bit of luck on their side. But this upcoming season, I don't think that they might not even finish in the top 25. I think that they're realistically in that 8-4, 9-3 range. And it's for everything that you just talked about. They lack a lot of depth. There's some nice young players on this roster. I think Lander Barton is a talented linebacker who was their freshman of the year in the conference last year, which is, you know, an achievement worth recognizing. But losing Dalton Kincaid, who was statistically the best tight end in college football last year, had a 200-yard receiving game, was one of the most uncoverable players in the Pac-12. You're losing Clark Phillips, who was the best defensive back in the Pac-12, and you're also losing Braden Daniels, who was one of the best offensive linemen in the Pac-12. Those losses at three of the most important positions on the field is going to kill them. That is going to hurt them. I have been very negative about Cam Rising. I think he's a fine quarterback, but he's not on the field consistently. He's occasionally banged up. He got banged up in the Rose Bowl, unless I'm misremembering, and you're giving me a look for misremembering.
No, he did, and I'm just saying, like, he might not even start the season. Like, he's that banged up. So, again, Joe, you have a scenario where you might get Florida going up to Utah and coming out there with a win.
That's a must-win for them. Absolutely a must-win.
I'm going to tell you something you're going to hate.
Oh, no.
You ready? I don't know if Colorado and Utah play, but if there's a team that no one expects
they do at the end of the season, don't say it. The last game of the season is against Colorado, but just finish the sentence.
Dude, Colorado might knock them off.
I don't think Colorado beats them. Come on.
Dude, they're deeper. They can sustain.
No, they're not. No, Joe, they're not. Colorado is not deeper.
Joe, they have 74 scholarship players on their roster. Utah's got 62. They could literally field another side of the ball. When I look at Colorado's defensive front, grad transfer, fifth-year senior, grad transfer, Hunter Travis or Travis Hunter.
I don't disagree with the premise. The premise makes sense, but that many transplants on one roster is not enough to beat Utah. Colorado can finish at or slightly below 500, which is a huge progression.
Mark it down now. Colorado is upsetting Utah.
You're insane. If Cam Rising is healthy and they play in that game, they're beating Colorado. They're gonna beat Colorado.
Interesting. Hey, do you remember the last time I came on this show and said that there was going to be an upset?
Huh. What was that?
Oh, I'm so glad you mentioned that. It's a team that had a lot of transfers on it. A team that nobody in the preseason projected that they'd be any good. And I said on this show so many Saturdays ago, I said LSU is beating Alabama. And you know what you told me? There's no way in hell that is even remotely going to happen. Brian Kelly can't win the big game. And I said, okay, well, just wait. Utah is not beating Colorado.
I can't believe you're comparing Utah losing to Colorado to Alabama losing to LSU. I think that's fantastic. I can't
feel
believe
that
that
strongly about this one, Joe.
You're using that punch on this game is amazing to me, and it just shows your Pac-12 roots as well.
I have no more Pac-12 roots.
Yeah, because they don't exist anymore. Look, to move past this one particular game, I don't agree with that. I don't think we're going to agree on that. I just think what needs to be emphasized here in this conversation is that there are the top 3 teams right now in the Pac-12: Oregon, Washington, USC. We broke them down. We talked about them. We spoke very highly of them. We spoke very highly of one team over that 3. I don't think Utah is in that stratosphere. I think they're in a tier below. They're in the Oregon State tier, closer to Oregon State than they are to Washington, Oregon, and USC. They will finish with a good record. They will not beat the tough teams in their schedule. But here's the biggest reason why. I don't know if you pulled up their schedule or not. They have the least favorable schedule out of those top teams because they have to play all 3 of them. They have to play USC, Oregon, and Washington. They're the only top team in the Pac-12 that has to do that this upcoming year. I can't put stock in a team that has depth issues, lost important players, and has the most difficult schedule.
Yeah, they got Florida at Baylor, Weber State, UCLA, which isn't a give-a-win. At Oregon State, that's not a give-a-win. Cal, they win. USC, that's not a give-a-win. Oregon, Arizona State, Washington, Arizona, Colorado. Joe, they could legitimately go into that. I know you said you want to move on. But if you consider Florida a loss, right? UCLA a potential loss, Oregon State a potential loss, USC, Oregon, Washington. Joe, they could be 5-6 going into that Colorado game.
I think that would be doomsday. Everything does not go well for them to be 5-6.
There is a potential. Let me ask you a question. Do they beat USC today? Yes or no?
No.
Do they beat Oregon?
No. And
do they beat Washington?
No.
Could you see Oregon State winning at home against them?
I think it's possible.
Okay. So we've got through the UCLA. Could you see UCLA knocking them off?
No. There's a reason why UCLA isn't ranked this year by anybody.
Joe, we just mentioned. So now your defense is you said the coaches poll sucks, and then now you're saying they're not ranked.
Okay. But my point is that everybody knows that UCLA is not going to be as good as last.
Could Chip Kelly scheme up them winning that game?
Yes, anything is possible to happen on any Saturday. Yes.
Okay, that's 5. Could they lose to Florida if they don't have a Cam Rising?
Again, that's possible. But this is what wait, that's why I said if in doomsday everything goes horribly, horribly wrong, totally possible for them to be 5-6. I think what's more realistic coming into that Colorado game is that they're 7-4. I think that's more projectably likely.
So who do they knock off? Because if they're 7-4 at that point, okay, then who do they knock off? Because then you have to justify that.
I think that they're going to beat Baylor. I think that they're going to beat Oregon State. I think that they're going to beat UCLA. And I think that Florida and Oregon State are the 2 toss-ups for me. That's where I'm leaving it. The rest of the schedule, they're playing the middle crap tier, what was the Pac-12.
I keep seeing everybody talk about Graham Mertz, right? Like people talking about, oh, well, he sucks. Well, you praise Peyton Thorne from Michigan State to go to Auburn.
He might not even start.
Not only might he not even start, which I told you, I legitimately, when we talked about Auburn, said, I don't care that he's going there. Robbie Ashford might play, and it might not even be Robbie Ashford, okay? The bottom line is Graham Mertz statistically had a better year than Peyton Thorne, and everybody thinks Peyton Thorne's going to be the dude going in. Well, Graham Mertz had a better year not only at Wisconsin, but, Joe, Wisconsin. I mean, everything was crumbling around them.
Yeah. So, fire the coach mid-year.
Right. Just throwing it out there. All right.
Wait. I want to bring up one final thing that I think needs to be acknowledged here. I think and then we'll wrap with the
Elks,
stuff that
I know that Pate may or may not have said that, but Auburn people are saying that it's not happening.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
So they're not backing that up. Anyway, continue.
Jason Campbell had Ashford on their show this week. Him and Taylor Davis had Ashford on, and sounds like that there's a pretty good shot that Ashford's going to start after they had him on. But I was going to say, if it was any other head coach running this Utah program, I think that Kyle Whittingham, I think you're discounting him a little bit. I think that with these issues, he is a good enough of a head coach to pull out 8 wins on this team.
That's a good point.